It's time for Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears to get this key player out of the lineup. And this episode of Keek on the Mic starts right now.
Cali to Chi-Town, it's Bears on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Bears fans, first and foremost, happy Friday to every single one of you guys. We are now only a couple of days away until our Week 3 matchup at Soldier Field against the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be the return of ex-Bears coach Matt Eberflus, so I'm looking forward to the Chicago Bears fans giving him a warm welcome. And something that I didn't realize before, Bears fans, I didn't realize that this game was going to be the America's game of the week. That means it's going to be the late afternoon window. For some reason, I thought this game was usually at 10 a.m., which that's my time here in California. But no, they are the late afternoon window, America's game of the week. So it should be a pretty interesting one against the Dallas Cowboys. But before I go any further with today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's podcast, and that is DraftKings Sportsbook. The NFL season is now in full effect, and for this season, football fans, Keek on the Mic is teaming up with DraftKings Sportsbook. This season, football fans, DraftKings Sportsbook is taking the fun to a whole new level. New customers that bet $5 will instantly get $200 in bonus bets. That's not the only thing that I love about DraftKings Sportsbook, football fans. You can also stay in on the action and use your bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. So if you love the thrill of live betting just like I do right here on Keek on the Mic, DraftKings Sportsbook definitely has you covered all season long. So click the link down below in the description of today's video and use my code KEEK. All right, Bears fans, there's a couple of different things that I wanted to talk about on today's episode of Keek on the Mic. First and foremost, the Chicago Bears posted their final injury report for their game against the Dallas Cowboys. And ouch, Bears fans, it is a very long list. There is 5 confirmed players out for the Chicago Bears: Karana Magaji, TJ Edwards, Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, and Jalen Jones. DeMarco Jackson and DeAndre Swift are both questionable for the game against the Cowboys. And then Grady Jarrett and Ja'Day Walker are both good to go after being full participants in Friday's practice. So like I once said, this is a long list this early in the season. Hopefully these guys can get back and be healthy and not get injured, especially guys like Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, TJ Edwards, among others. But just definitely a long list of guys that are not available for us against the game against the Dallas Cowboys. So Bears fans, I'm a little bit concerned today on a Friday, and I'm very happy that it's Friday. I'm very happy that the Chicago Bears are back Week 3 against the Dallas Cowboys. Whether they win or lose, they're probably going to frustrate us once again, but I still get pumped up when it's a new opportunity for the Chicago Bears to hopefully end their losing streak and get their first win of this new season. But I'm a little bit concerned, right, because we talked about some players on the roster that have been major liabilities, and these are players at key positions. I know there's been a lot of people saying DeAndre Swift is a liability at this point, but the player that I really want to talk about, and I think it's time for Ben Johnson, Ryan Poles, and the Chicago Bears organization to pull the plug on this starter, and that is Braxton Jones, the starting left tackle for the Chicago Bears. And we've had a lot of conversations about Braxton Jones and the left tackle position. I know that Ben Johnson went through a very steep left tackle competition between Aja Trapillo and Karana Magaji, and even Theo Benedict got thrown in there at the end of training camp. But ultimately, Braxton Jones won the starting job. And during the first 2 weeks of the NFL season, Braxton Jones has been absolutely miserable. We're talking about 13 pressures in 2 weeks. He just looks like an absolute liability, plain and simple, for the Chicago Bears offensive line. But to make matters worse, Bears fans, there is a chart out there right now. I'm basically just going off of teams' offense allowed pressure for each drop back, and they go from each percentage from each position group on your 5 starting offensive linemen. So when you look at Caleb Williams on this chart, and I'm showing it on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, you see that our right tackle is at a 3.4%. Our right guard 17.2%. You see our center's at 17.2% as well. Our left guard is at 13.8%. And then you see our left tackle at 41.4%. That means Braxton Jones is 41% allowing the most pressures on our offensive line. Once again, the first 2 weeks have been miserable. 13 total pressures allowed on him. There's even a clip that really concerned me from the Detroit Lions game where the dude was just basically suplexed with one arm, talking about Braxton Jones. And I'm not sure if it was fake or not, but what I saw was absolutely miserable. So for me, Braxton Jones is a liability. We already knew that his strength was his weakness was he couldn't stop the bull rush, right? But now it's getting to a level where he is a liability for this offensive line. He's a liability for Caleb Williams, especially blocking Caleb Williams' blind side. And the Chicago Bears are now in a very awkward situation, right? Because, of course, you can allow Braxton Jones go these next 2 weeks, even though he is a major liability, which is most likely what's going to happen, especially since that the Chicago Bears have that early bye week in week 5. But I don't think Ben Johnson is going to be patient for very much longer. I think at this point, I'd rather see Theo Benedict out there or even Audrey Shapiro, even though Audrey Shapiro even had his struggles as a rookie because he's naturally a right tackle. But I'd rather see those 2 young guys compete it out and see what they have rather than watch Braxton Jones continue to struggle. So it's going to be interesting these next couple of weeks to see if Braxton Jones is pulled. I think, if these next 2 weeks he looks terrible, I think he will get replaced after the bye week. But I think at this point, sooner rather than later, I'm hoping for the best for Braxton Jones. I'm hoping that he can turn it around. But when you are one of the worst left tackles in the league, according to these percentages and these charts and these numbers, it's not looking good for him whatsoever. And of course, we have upgraded the offensive line, especially the interior, but the left tackle position is still the most important position on this offensive line. And unfortunately, it's the weakest part of offensive line because Braxton Jones has just not had a good start to the NFL season. So hopefully these next 2 weeks against, defenses that he could possibly have some success against, maybe not the Las Vegas Raiders, because he's probably going to be going against Max Crosby quite a bit. But hopefully this week against, a Dallas Cowboys defense that maybe he can have some success against. Maybe he has a bounce back performance, but at this point, I think we all know what Braxton Jones is, that there's no more ceiling that he can reach. I'm trying to be patient, but at this moment, the Chicago Bears are 0-2. The offensive line has had its up and downs, but Braxton Jones has been not a bright spot for this offense and definitely not a bright spot on this offensive line. Once again, allowed 13 total pressures in 2 games, and that is the most by any tackle in the National Football League. Definitely something that you don't want to see from your veteran and Braxton Jones. So Bears fans, let me know down below in the comment section how you're feeling about all of this. Do you think Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears should just pull the trigger now and bench Braxton Jones in favor of Theo Benedict or Ozzie Trapillo? Or do you think that they should give him at least 2 more weeks and then make that decision during the bye week? Let me know down below in the comment section. But as always, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for our all-new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic.